Today we'll be remembering the story of a visionary leader who liberated his country, Ghana, from British colonial rule in 1957 and dreamt of uniting Africa. His ideas of freedom, true independence and Pan-African unity spread across the continent during the post-colonial era and are still very much relevant today. He survived 5 assassination attempts and was removed from power by a military coup in 1966. Kwame Nkrumah, who died in 1972, left a plethora of development, numerous publications and an eternal legacy. Like the saying goes, Nkrumah never dies.
This decade is the decade of African independence. Forward then to independence. To independence now. Tomorrow, the United States of Africa.
Son of a goldsmith and retail trader, born in 1909, Kwame Nkrumah attended a prestigious Catholic school called Achimota College. A good student of religion, he wanted to become a priest. But as he got older, he was intrigued by the world of politics. After graduating from Achimota, he traveled to the US and attended Lincoln University in Pennsylvania in 1935. He also attained a master's degree after graduating in 1939 from Lincoln University and the University of Pennsylvania. This period was pivotal in Kwame's life. He read a lot. He was influenced by socialist literature, the works of Karl Marx, Vladimir Lenin and Marcus Garvey. He became the president of the African Students Organization of the United States and Canada. He left the US in May 1945 and went to England, where he organized the 5th Pan-African Congress in Manchester. Meanwhile, in Ghana, then a British colony known as the Gold Coast, the United Gold Coast Convention had been formed. A first-of-its-kind party working towards self-government by constitutional means. Nkrumah was invited to be the UGCC's General Secretary and returned home in late 1947. Protests and riots calling for independence made Nkrumah a target for the British colonial government. He was briefly arrested in February 1948, alongside other leaders of the UGCC. A split eventually occurred in the party, and in 1949, Nkrumah formed the new Convention People's Party, committed to a program of immediate self-government. Starting in 1950, Kwame pushed for a campaign of positive action, with non-violent protests, strikes and a boycott of British colonial authorities and business. Nkrumah was again arrested and sentenced to 1 year in prison. In February 1951, the country had its first general election. It was a done deal for the vastly popular CPP. He was elected to parliament, released from prison, and in 1952 he became the first Prime Minister of Ghana.
At Accra, a huge crowd cheers as Kwame Nkrumah leaves James Fort Prison freed by the governor as an act of grace on the eve of the inauguration of the new constitution.
In 1957, Ghana declared its independence, the first country situated south of the Sahara Desert to do so, and in 1960 he was elected President of Ghana. Here's a quick listen to Nkrumah's independence speech.
We are going to see that we create our own African personality and identity. We dedicate ourselves not only in the struggle to emancipate all the territories in Africa. Our independence is meaningless unless it is linked up with total reflection of the African continent.
Kwame's government was primarily nationalist and socialist. While in power, Nkrumah pushed for the Africanization of the civil service, introduced free education and healthcare, and built a strong national education system by challenging the Eurocentrism and white supremacy embedded in British textbooks and cultural institutions. He opposed and weakened tribalism within the country. He promoted a Pan-African culture, calling for international libraries and cooperative efforts to study history and culture. He opened the Ghana Museum, the Arts Council of Ghana, and the Ghana Film Corporation. He created the Ghana News Agency, the Ghanaian Times, and the Ghana Broadcast Corporation. He also established an external service to broadcast it in English, French, Arabic, Swahili, Portuguese, and Hausa. Economically, at the beginning of his tenure, it was only success for Nkrumah. Forestry, fishing, and cattle breeding expanded. Production of cocoa, Ghana's main export, doubled, and even gold exploitation was carried out more effectively. He pushed for rapid industrialization and constructed a dam on the Upper Volta River, providing water for irrigation and hydroelectric power. Government funds were also provided for village projects, in which local people built schools and roads. Energy projects were a big thing for Nkrumah, who saw it as a means of true economic independence. He initiated Ghana's nuclear reactor project in 1961, created the Ghana Atomic Energy Commission in 1963, and in 1964 laid the first stone in the building of an atomic energy facility. His foreign policy achievements were not small either.
For today, we must each see ourselves as part of Africa in order that we may face colonialist imperialism and its new form, neocolonialism, on a continent-wide front. For unity must be the keynote of our actions. Our enemies are many, and they stand ready to pounce upon and exploit our very weakness.
Kwame Nkrumah sought to achieve Pan-African unity and harmony through the deep political, economic and military integration of the continent. He created several new international organizations and organized multiple conferences, including an all-African trade union, a conference for African women, and security coordination over Algeria, South Africa, and French nuclear weapons testing in West Africa. He withdrew Ghana from colonial organizations, such as the West Africa Airways Corporation or the West African Currency Board and the West African Court of Appeal. In 1960, he negotiated the creation of a Union of African States, a political alliance between Ghana, Guinea, and Mali. To that end, Nkrumah was the founding father of the Organization of African Unity in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia in 1963, to which 32 African countries belonged to. The OAU aimed for full military, economic and political integration. Number 1, to eradicate colonialism. Number 2, to intensify cooperation between African states. Number 3, to defend the sovereignty, territorial integrity and independence of African states. And number 4, to ensure all Africans enjoyed human rights. Number 5, to alleviate the standard of living for all Africans. And 6, to settle arguments and disputes between the member states. Basically, what the European Union is today. The OAU was later replaced with the African Union in 2002. As a socialist, his visits and alliances swayed eastwards. A tour of Eastern Europe, the Soviet Union and China meant that he was in the not-so-favored in Washington camp. He was deemed a threat that could spread Soviet influence across the continent and counter Western military, economic and cultural hegemony across Africa.
We cannot, under any circumstances, allow imperialists and new colonialists to interlock with traitors in our midst to deflect us from the path of duty and progress.
But the reality is, for all his good deeds, many argue that his focus on external matters meant that he made some big mistakes at home. Ghana went into debt to build the dam on the upper Volta River, and even more debt when launching its developmental programs. He sent aid and military units to several African countries, including the Congo, Guinea, and Rhodesia, adding more debt to his administration's bill and country's economy. Assassination attempts against him meant that the Internal Security Service increased in size and power. Early in 1964, Ghana was officially designated a one-party state with Nkrumah as president for life of both nation and party. Ghana's opposition saw that as an abuse of power. An economic crisis in Ghana caused by debt, foreign spending, misallocation of funds, and declining cocoa prices worsened, and shortages of foodstuffs and other goods became chronic. His popularity was dwindling, not only among the elite, but by the everyday people. General strikes and protests were a clear indication. In February 1966, while on a state visit to North Vietnam and China, the army and police in Ghana seized power. Upon his return, Nkrumah found asylum in Guinea, where he spent the remainder of his life. He died of cancer in Bucharest, Romania in 1972. So one unusual and random fact about Kwame, he was married to an Egyptian Coptic woman called Fathia Rizk. He married her on the evening of her arrival in Ghana on New Year's Eve, 1957-1958. The man was not messing around. He's also featured in a track by British grime musician Stormzy, introducing him to a whole new generation.
Look in my eyes, see Kwame Nkrumah. That's a real presidential black man. Real revolution starter.
Remember, Nkrumah never dies.